I think it's really important to get at this idea of the scapegoat mechanism becoming less effective because of society's concern for victims. And nobody hated, so which, Girard would say this, our concern for victims is the universal value that now unites the world. Pretty much, who will you ever find that says that you shouldn't be concerned with victims or, people being injustice, right? Um, and Girard says this is really the fruit of the revelation of the scapegoat mechanism. We've now seen something that we can never unsee, and it
Mhm.
sort of led over 2,000 years. It led over a very long period of time to that becoming the most important value in the world, to the point that there's now mimetic rivalry over who can be the best victim, because nothing confers more status and power than becoming a good victim. It's a weird paradox and inversion of
Yeah.
like the true nature of Christianity, right?
And so
And
did Girard, my understanding is that at the end, towards the end, he also started talking about the pattern of Antichrist as related to something like that, something like a kind of twisting of the recognition of the victim into something like a disturbed version of Christianity or something
well,
like that.
there's two ways out of the conundrum that society has got itself in, according to this is my reading of Girard. So one is Nietzsche, who who Girard thought was like the most important philosopher um, of the last 150 years, because nobody saw so clearly the role of Christ, who he compared to the Dionysus myth. And Dionysus, by the way, is the god of insanity and ritualized madness, who unites people in ecstasy and drunken parties,
Mhm.
and blesses the scapegoat, essentially the scapegoat mechanism. And he said, nobody saw what the Christian story was about more than Nietzsche, but he rejected it.
Mhm.
And he said, the concern for victims is slave morality, and we need to do away with the concern for victims. And not only that, in fact, victims should be like the weak, like the protection of it, they should be sacrificed in the name of society, right? Achieving some higher levels of being, which indirectly led to Nazi socialism, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So there's the Nietzsche approach that the concern for victims needs to be eradicated because this is the slave morality of Christianity or something like that. And then on the flip side, you have the Antichrist, and the Antichrist is one way that I would describe I don't like the term, but the so-called culture wars is
Mhm.
essentially the culture, or really the secular culture, trying to be more Christian than Christianity or more Christian than Christ, and saying we care for victims more than you Christians do, right?
Mhm.
Or this is the Grand Inquisitor in Dostoevsky, right? Like if you cared so much, like we do a better job at caring for victims than the church has ever done, or whatever, right?
Mhm.
And so there's this weird rivalry almost that is in some way the culture is like a mimetic rival to Christianity, to the extent that the two of them get in a weird double bind mimetic war. It's really bad for both, especially for Christianity. And what is the Antichrist but the one that comes along and does the best job at that? He totally unites humanity, promises peace, promises to be, to have the utmost concern for all victims, to end poverty, to do all of those things that Christianity promised and couldn't do. So in a sense, because of a lack of sort of eschatological sort of understanding and teleology, the Antichrist replaces Christianity by almost becoming what those who have rejected Christ want him to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.